By the time I go off and start asking questions, I need to be going off and asking questions about why you would do such a thing to a fellow journalist when there are real issues that we need to be discussing that are predicated on an alleged common ground that we have that's demonstrated empirically. All right, guys, I told you a few days ago that I was going to have a video about my issue with Dominic Holden. I was going to discuss this issue in a larger context about why I'm so upset with what he did the other day. Now, Dominic Holden is a guy that I have generally respected over the years, okay? How can I say, let's start off back here. Okay, so yeah, that's Dominic. He's a very successful journalist, and he used to write for the Seattle Stranger, okay, here in town, all right? Now, Dominic and I have a lot of causes in common. I've worked on LGBTQ issues right here in Seattle, I have, and I have empirically done that. But here's what happened, okay? I have been working in press, oh my God, like major press. I was writing for the Indianapolis Star when Dominic was like 10 years old, okay? I've worked with small press and alternative press since back in the day when it used to be truly alternative. That's the, excuse me, the Columbus Alive, writing stories about some of my cases and such. You Can Fight City Hall, okay? And this was all back in the day when, there really was legitimate small press, alternative press. I worked for the Cleveland Edition back in the 80s that Bill Gunlock was the publisher of that. And so you may know that the Supreme Court sits on Gunlock chairs. Well, he didn't, buy a Ferrari with his inheritance. He opened a newspaper, okay? So, gosh, all right. So I'm involved in issues that are very important to the community, all right? Here's the situation here where, I was very active with local housing advocates, attorneys to point out the fact that there's mortgage fraud in Seattle leading to fraudulent foreclosure, all of this going on, all right? But what happened was, what Dominic did was, I questioned a couple things about coronavirus, okay? And mind me if I look like hell. I just woke up a while ago and I felt I'm going to do this right now. I haven't gone to the bathroom. I haven't showered, nothing. But I just want to get this out right now. I don't care how I look. The deal is this. I talked about the notion that, what can we question about the coronavirus, okay? I didn't question whether or not it's real or anything of that nature, okay? But anyway, at one point I pointed out a news article where I said, hey, he came at me twice last week. And the first time was when I just simply asked, what can we question about the coronavirus? And he kind of had a snippy remark for me. And then later on, I came back with another question regarding a Christian woman a doctor who had committed suicide apparently. And I noted that the article, didn't state whether or not there was a ransom, whether or not there was a suicide note or anything of that nature, okay? So, I didn't make any conclusions about this. I just said that as a journalist, that should be something that's in there, whether or not there was, the presence or absence of a suicide note. And I think I kind of know this because guess what? I wrote obits professionally for a daily newspaper. Duh. So anyway, I get called to task on that by Dominic. All right, so let's return. Well, not yet. Okay, so what I told Dominic at the time was, I says, look, dude, I'm not drawing any conclusions about that aspect of coronavirus. But what I'm doing is I'm saying that there is a thing that I'm calling a conspiracy by happenstance. And a conspiracy by happenstance is when something that's, allegedly natural or what have you happens, and then the banking industries and the mortgage industries then seize that moment, carpe diem, they seize that moment to screw all of us, all right, to screw the American people. And that's empirically what's been going on. I call it also the 10-year cycle of fuckery. The S&L scandal in the 80s, 90s, Enron, double aughts, 9/11, then the mortgage crisis. And now this whole thing is going to come around, circle back and cause another mortgage crisis. Because as I showed in a video recently, what they're doing is they're giving these forbearances out, and then they're commanding that you owe back everything on the forbearance immediately, which of course you don't have because you've been unemployed or underemployed for the last 2 or 3 months. And so, I'm not just saying this. NPR is saying this too. It's everywhere. It's out there. So Attorney Scott Staffney and I are working on a program to help homeowners in this situation. Okay, but we're gonna get there in a second. Let's circle back now to the rest of this. All right. So, when I opened up the discussion on my Facebook page about this situation, the thing is that he didn't want to talk about any of that. Okay, and I says, look, Dominic, can we talk about Phyllis Walsh? Your co-writer, I brought his co-writer Ansel Hers into a forum that was attended by 9 out of 10 of the city, or 6 out of 8 of the city council candidates, to discuss some of these issues. All right, and I open it up like this.
At the outset, I would just like to observe a moment of prayer and remembrance and respect for Phyllis Walsh and for anybody else in America who has taken their life in the face of an impending foreclosure.
Okay, so Ansel Hurst, again, that's his former co-writer at the Seattle Stranger, was, I picked Michelle Darnell and I picked him to be the assistant moderator of this forum because I didn't want to be the full moderator. I just want to introduce the candidates and go from there. And this was like, I ran a title company. I think I'm entitled to discuss these types of issues. I've saved dozens of homes by myself, with others, with Michelle Darnell, with Attorney Staffney. This is an area on which my knowledge is pretty much unassailable. So I want to talk about that with Dominic. But he walked away. He had nothing to say about these very real issues. And that bothers me because, if I look back in the day, all right, they have, the Stranger, actually, I don't have the story pulled up, but the Stranger ran a story itself about this case, Bradburn versus Recon Trust, where you see Attorney Staffney won a reversal of a fraudulent foreclosure in that case, okay? And I was there, all right? I ran video, and here it is right there. The Stranger ran a story about it. So why isn't it important now, Dominic, to talk about, what I'm seeing go down again? Why isn't it important now, dude? All right? Ugh, just agonizing. Not only that, Dominic was very active with the Hemp Fest. He was a director. And I'm working right now with a guy, all right, Levi, who is being screwed over by Washington Liquor and Cannabis Board, all right? And he's the Hemp Fest, he's one of the directors there now. He does entertainment. Anyway, that's a dope track. But anyway, so I'm working with, I did some work with Levi, and I'll be covering that whenever that continues on. And so there's another commonality of what we have together. All right, so don't just come in here as we're both alternative journalists, okay? You're doing your thing with yours. I've got Hollywood stuff I'm working on mine, okay? That's based on my years of research, all right? So don't come into my Facebook page and take pot shots at me, Dominic, when, you're never on my page to start with. But then you show up one day and kind of, put a bit of a dick move on me, all right? And I won't tolerate that at all. So people say sometimes about me, oh, you're so fiery, and you go off. And I'm like, no. By the time I go off and start asking questions, I need to be going off and asking questions about why you would do such a thing to a fellow journalist when there are real issues that we need to be discussing that are predicated on an alleged common ground that we have that's demonstrated empirically. So don't just come to my page and shit talk. If you want to talk about real issues, let's talk about real issues. Otherwise, stay off of my page, Dominic. I have always respected you, and I still welcome you to discuss these real issues that I set forth today. Thank you. That's simple. What else would I have for this thing? Good God. Oh, yeah, there's the part about the Phyllis Walsh. This was the impetus coming into that forum.
And lawyers. But the key thing to remember is that we must remain unified in our battle to make sure that the banks are held accountable for what the law clearly states. That be that in private negotiations, in state-sponsored mediation, or in the regular and bankruptcy courts of law, where B-10 proofs of claim must be set forth. The banks are very well funded and very well organized. In order for us to more effectively deal with them, we must marshal our resources. We need to fund this effort and target particular cases that are of a larger impact on a whole. For example, right here in the Walsh case, we see that MERS is on her assignment right there. That's questionable in Washington because of the Bain case right off the bat. So this candidate forum is the first of several initiatives that will continue as needed. The banks need to know that whenever they pull the trigger on foreclosure, that they could be dealing not only with any one of us, but all of us. And that includes city council.
All right. So we know what happened with city council. They don't care anymore. But writers like Dominic Holden should be caring. And we should be working together and talking about real issues instead of taking pot shots at me, just because I questioned something about the coronavirus. It's really not cool. And I've been exposed to this type of thing before with the so-called alternative press, where they conducted an interview with me when I sued Kelly Ayotte, who became a one-term U.S. Senator. I had sued her for a First Amendment violation. She publicly advertised a rally, had it at a public hotel, had police on duty there at Nashua, New Hampshire, and kicked me out of it. I was the only journalist kicked out of it, okay? I had a valid case, all right, for a number of reasons. They came back and said it was a private forum, but then I had these guys over at Politico wrote a story about me. After they interviewed me, they lied about what I said. They said that I called myself a liberal. I have never called myself a liberal. Then they went on and said that the case was basically found frivolous. It never was found frivolous, okay, at all. So I'm watching you guys. You do what you do, and I do what I do. But don't you ever try to diminish my accomplishments or my work for your own personal gain or to take a pot shot. I'm not having it. Goodbye, Dominic. I look forward to your response.